The last story is probably the biggest New Zealand news story of the day, and that's what's happening with the OCR.
In other news, the Reserve Bank has cut the official cash rate.
What's that, Chewie?
I just fixed my mortgage. Fuck's sake.
Oh, God damn it!
In other news, the Reserve Bank has cut the official cash rate for the 6th time in a row. It's been trimmed by 25 basis points to 3.25%, the lowest rate in years. The Finance Minister took credit, saying the government eased inflation pressure by bringing public spending under control. But ANZ's chief economist pointed out that debt is still rising, and the government hasn't addressed the economic ticking time bomb of ballooning superannuation costs. Here's political correspondent Zane Small.
The Minister for Regulation rinsing away the red tape.
It's just the idea of giving people a bit of trust.
David Seymour popped into Rodney Wayne this morning to announce sweeping cuts to regulations for hairdressers.
What the review by the Ministry for Regulation found is that most of the rules are either so silly they're ignored or so obvious they're being done anyway.
That includes mandates around the spacing of salon seats, the brightness of lights, and the ability to offer customers a refreshment.
We are taking a serious trim to the amount of pointless bureaucracy.
And he was hoping for a serious trim to the official cash rate.
If I thought getting my hair dyed with lower interest rates, I'd do it.
He didn't need to, because today's cut to the benchmark lending rate was widely expected. The Reserve Bank has lowered the OCR for the 6th time in a row to 3.25%, the lowest.
Can I just say as well, from the journalist, from the host, it's the lowest it's been in years. Well, it's not really that long ago. I mean, yeah, technically you're correct. It's 2 of those years and a bit more. It's not like since the 1980s. It kind of, the way she said it was like, it hasn't been this low since Jesus was in shorts. You know, it's like, well, you know, it was under Labour, the last term. It's not that long ago. I don't know whether it warrants a headline as you're going into the story.
It's important because this underpins our entire broken economy, our unproductive economy. Look, I just had dinner with friends. We were talking about interest rates, and we all acknowledge the fact that we always talk about it, and it's fucking boring.
Especially you're still grumpy.
40.
You're still grumpy.
Oh, still angry about
fixing.
it.
Yeah, all right.
Since 2022.
We now have inflation back and banned, and that's partly because we've taken such a responsible approach to spending.
Or hang on, external factors, Nicola. External factors were making, so surely external factors are the result of good news. External factors? No, nothing to do with external factors. Just thinking. All right.
She fixed it globally.
Yep, everything. Oh, I've got such good goss about this. This is the budget lockup. I've got the best goss in the world about this from speaking to a wee friend of ours. I'll in the second.
Okay.
The government's, I guess, lower spending contribute to your decision today?
It had a very little role to play in terms of the decision we made today.
The budget revealed last week the government found savings of $5.3 billion per year, a subject the Prime Minister touched on today during a Q&A with ANZ Chief Executive Antonia Watson.
We've got a lot of things in motion and you've actually got to bend the curve, and that's what we're doing.
Around debt, it's still rising actually for quite a few more years. So again, this is not exactly all the weight on the wheel turning as hard as you can. This is actually quite a gradual adjustment.
ANZ's chief economist Sharon Zollner also highlighting an economic ticking time bomb the government has not addressed.
When the boomers were 20, starting their working careers, there were 7 working age people for every 1 retired person. Mm-hmm. Now there's 3.5, or a bit over 3.5.
Wow.
So half is...
Wow. That number's terrifying. So half the number of working people for retirees as there were, that'd be 35 years ago, I guess, 40 years ago?
In fairness, Pat, this problem absolutely snuck up on everybody. Nobody knew that the demographics would work that way. Nobody's been looking at it ever, and nobody's been talking about it as a potential problem for 50 years.
So half as many working people trying to support the boomers as they go into retirement. and it's going to keep getting worse.
They should have credibly tackled the ageing population problems, because that's why nothing they're doing is being taken that seriously.
We've obviously, as a National Party, believe strongly that we should move the retirement age to 67. Every 10 years, Kiwis live another year and a bit. Obviously, that's something that politically we don't have consensus around.
New Zealand First is not keen, so the coalition government's washing its hands of that issue because only ACT and National are open to having the discussion.
There you go. Now, you go for it if you've got anything to share on that, then I'll share the gossip about the budget lockup.
So many hair-cutting puns. Puns about David Seymour having a hair wash. It's a puff piece. Like,
yeah, sorry, hang on. Sorry about doing that kind of once and a half times.
That story was about something incredibly troubling that so many governments, mainly blue ones, have dropped the fucking ball on. There have been so many attempts. There are attempts to get a super fund going in the 70s. Muldoon killed it. Cost this country trillions of dollars. David Cullen tried to get one going. National have raided that piggy bank, 3 times now? They have hamstrung KiwiSaver and withdrawn support for that. That was what KiwiSaver was for, was to do some of the heavy lifting for our generations when we retire, whenever National lets us retire, because they knew that the super fund as it stood was not going to handle this. Nobody's got ahead of this problem to the degree that it needed to, and nobody protected the instruments that we tried to put up to protect it. Nobody protected them hard enough. And once again, when they talk about Kiwis are living an extra year, every fucking whatever. Some Kiwis are. Kiwis that don't have really hard jobs. Kiwis that have good access to health care. Kiwis that had a good start in life. Kiwis that were lucky in the genetic lottery. Certainly not Māoris, certainly not Pacific Islanders, certainly not the poor. Not important. Not the point. Christopher Luxon had a long and successful retirement. I'm sure he'll live to 110 because he's evil. He's independently wealthy, doesn't need super, he'll take it. Winston Peters, our current Deputy Prime Minister, claims super. Because the attitude from that generation is that they earned it and they paid into it.
Yeah, but that's
how they think of it like that. They paid their taxes into super. That's not how that works.
No, that's not how that works. And be really, really clear. On day one, when super was started, there was no money there to pay super. So it was the workers, the current workers, who were paying for the then retirees. And that's what it's done the whole time. So no, he hasn't paid for it. He's paid for the generation before him. But the other thing with Winston that'll stick in most people's craw is because he's basically been around in Parliament since the early 1800s. He's also entitled to all those massive perks with retirements that MPs get before. I think it was pre-94, and so he'll be creaming it. He'll be creaming it.
So yeah, I don't know what the answer is to super. I don't have that big enough of a brain, but certainly when somebody sets up a fund to try and do some of the heavy lifting, leave it the fuck alone, Nicola. Don't create a bunghole in our piggy bank to funnel money into private enterprise, the venture capital fund. No, don't do that. That's ours. You should... if they talk of raising the retirement age before they talk about means testing super, I'll be flipping cars over in the street French style. But I don't want any discussion about changing super. But means testing it should be the first one out of the gates.
Well, it's the reality is, as super is being run right now, it cannot stay run like that. So the one thing that we have as a truth is you can't keep doing it like it's being done right now. Something needs to change. They need to find more revenue to put into super for the people who are on super. That might be through taxes, that might be through other means. They either need to have some people who don't need it not on it, that'll be means testing, or they need to keep it as it is and raise the age. There are the only thing right now we know is that the current way it's done will not survive. It is not able to go forward with half the number of people supporting the number of people who actually, what they didn't say in that, if there is there's 3.5, okay, yeah, so there'll be more people obviously because there's more people in the country. So more people are on super. That's where they get the 3.5 people per retired person from. So that's impossible to continue on that path. It's not enough money. So they have to change it. And it's just how they're going to change it. It's stupid having a conversation between MPs and parties saying we're not going to touch it because you have to touch it. Because if you don't touch it, you will end up sending it bankrupt. And that's the one thing you can't do is nothing.
It's like, okay, this is another discussion that came up with my friends over dinner. I am sick of being part of the generation that has to decide to be responsible. Like the generation that didn't get free tertiary education.
Yes.
The generation that has to sort of look at council rates and go, oh, the previous guys have kicked the can so far down the line. We're the ones that have to wear massive rates increases. We're the ones that aren't going to get access to the range of healthcare that previous generations enjoyed. And then when I get old enough, fuck knows if there's super there, or I'm going to work as a greeter for some American chain store until I'm 110.
Yeah.
Like, I work a retail job. It's not physically demanding or anything like that. There's probably a good chance that I'll get to retirement age, you know, and hopefully a decade or two past that. But there are people that work hard physical jobs, and you're going to tell them, you're going to tell a brickie that he has to work till 67. You know, there's a comment there that's gone past that someone's family or Māori that never got to retirement age. So the argument is for some boomers that, no, I deserve this because I paid into it. Didn't they pay into it as well?
Yeah, 100%.
Like 100%. I've always thought that there should be some sort of way of people to claim early retirement, you know, for those physical jobs and stuff like that. God knows how that would work. But I don't think there's any adults looking at this seriously, because it seems like National's first idea out of the ranks is, oh, we'll just put the age up. Easy peasy. I'm going to live till 90. It's fine. They're not thinking of us. They're not thinking of the people that work those hard jobs, or the demographics that they are clearly happy to leave for dust because everybody's equal. Don't worry about it. There's no adult in the control room. The ship is just wildly veering from side to side, weaving its way through reefs and islands. And we decide whether to go left or right based on who's got the better anecdote. I spoke to a hairdresser that said that their business will triple in productivity if they can serve a cheeky shandy. You want to see that person? No, you don't know her.
Yeah.
You know, I speak to New Zealanders every day that know that their retirement age needs to go up. Who? I'm not going to show you.
Yeah,
please don't pay attention to this head of a major bank saying that we're fucked it.